If you're watching this right now, stop scrolling. This message is not random. You didn't click this by accident. And before you dismiss that thought, ask yourself this: why did the title hit you so deeply? Why did something inside you pause? Because right now, God is upgrading your life, and most people will completely miss it. You may feel confused, tired, isolated, like everything slowed down while everyone else moved ahead. One moment you're full of faith, the next moment you're questioning everything. You've been asking, why am I stuck? Why does it feel like nothing is happening? But what if I told you everything is happening? What if the silence you're experiencing isn't delay, but preparation? What if the doors that closed weren't rejection, but protection? And what if the pressure you're under right now is proof that something powerful is being installed in your life? This is the phase nobody talks about. The hidden season. The uncomfortable season. The season where God removes people, shifts your desires, and rewires your thinking before the breakthrough shows up. And here's the part that might shake you. If you are a chosen one, your life will never look normal. You will be tested more, isolated more, delayed more. But when the upgrade finishes, everything changes at once. Opportunities will come suddenly. Clarity will replace confusion. Peace will silence anxiety. But only if you don't ignore what's happening right now. So don't skip this video, don't minimize this moment, and don't assume this message is for someone else. If you feel this in your spirit, this is for you. Watch until the end, because what you're about to hear may explain everything you've been going through and prepare you for what's coming next. Backhand index pointing down, and before we continue, comment upgraded if this message already resonates with you. Like this video to affirm this season. Share it with someone who feels lost but chosen. And subscribe, because this is only the beginning. Orange heart. Being a chosen one has nothing to do with ego, status, or being better than anyone else. It's not about walking into a room and believing the spotlight belongs to you. In fact, most people who carry this calling spend a long time feeling invisible, misunderstood, or out of place. The idea of being chosen is often misunderstood because people associate it with privilege, when in reality it's more closely tied to responsibility. It's a weight before it's ever a reward. It's a spiritual assignment that shows up quietly, often disguised as pressure, isolation, and a sense that life keeps demanding more from you than it does from others. If you've carried this energy, you've probably felt it since you were young. There's a strong chance you felt older than your age, not in a physical sense, but emotionally and mentally. While others were carefree, you were already thinking about purpose, meaning, and why people behave the way they do. You may have questioned life early, wondering why things were unfair, why pain existed, or why you felt emotions so deeply when others seemed unaffected. Fitting in never felt natural, even when you tried. You could blend into a crowd, but you never truly felt like you belonged to it. There's often this quiet sense that you're being watched over, guided, or tested, as if life itself is observing how you respond to pressure. Not in a paranoid way, but in a deeply intuitive one, like every experience is shaping you for something you can't yet see. In the American experience, this feeling often shows up through independence. The culture values self-made strength, resilience, and pushing forward no matter what. But for someone who is chosen, that independence can feel amplified. You may have learned early how to stand on your own 2 feet, not because you wanted to, but because circumstances required it. You might have been the one who had to grow up fast, take responsibility early, or figure things out without a safety net. Long stretches of emotional or spiritual solitude shaped you, much like wide open roads stretching across states where you can drive for hours with nothing but your thoughts. That kind of space forces reflection. It builds endurance. It teaches you how to sit with yourself without distractions. There's a reason this path feels lonely at first. God often chooses people who can stand alone long before they ever stand out. Before visibility comes stability. Before influence comes inner authority. And that authority isn't loud. It's built through quiet endurance, through nights when no one sees you struggling and mornings when you show up anyway. That's where the chosen are formed, not in applause, but in persistence. This is also why your life may have felt harder than the lives of people around you. You might have watched others get shortcuts while you had to take the long way every time. They failed and bounced back quickly, while your setbacks lingered. They seemed supported, lifted, and rescued, while you had to build yourself from the ground up. That contrast can be deeply frustrating, especially when you're doing everything you know how to do and still feel delayed. It can make you question whether you're doing something wrong or whether you've been forgotten entirely. But spiritually, there's a different set of rules at play. A stronger calling requires stricter preparation. The weight of what you're meant to carry later determines the pressure you face now. Nothing is random here. The delays aren't denials and the struggles aren't punishments. They are conditioning. God doesn't upgrade what hasn't been tested, because anything untested will collapse under real responsibility. What looks like life being unfair is often life being intentional. This doesn't erase the emotional cost, though. Burnout is real. Disappointment leaves marks. There have been quiet tears that no one noticed and silent prayers whispered when you didn't have the energy to explain yourself anymore. You've carried hope and exhaustion in the same breath. You've smiled while feeling empty and stayed strong when you wanted to rest. All of that matters. None of it was overlooked. Pain in this context is never wasted. It's invested. Every moment you thought was breaking you was actually building capacity inside you. Eventually, you may have entered a phase where nothing on the outside seemed to change, but everything on the inside began to shift. This is what a silent upgrade looks like. There's no announcement, no visible progress. Your life may even appear stagnant to others, but internally your values start rearranging themselves. Your tolerance for chaos drops. Your desire for depth increases. You start questioning old patterns that once felt normal. It can be uncomfortable because you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. During this phase, people often begin to disappear without explanation. Conversations feel forced. Drama loses its appeal. You crave silence, not because you're lonely, but because noise feels intrusive. There's a strong pull towards self-improvement, healing, and clarity. Things you once tolerated suddenly feel heavy. Your old life doesn't fit anymore, and trying to squeeze back into it feels wrong. This can be confusing and even scary because there's no clear roadmap for what comes next. Think of it like a system upgrade. When your phone updates, the screen goes dark. Some functions are temporarily unavailable. It may even feel like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, the system is restructuring itself to operate at a higher level. When it turns back on, performance is smoother, faster, and more capable than before. That's what's happening to you. The pause isn't a malfunction, it's preparation. Nature reflects this process beautifully. After a wildfire, the land can look destroyed, but certain seeds only activate under intense heat. What looks like devastation is actually the beginning of regeneration. Comfort doesn't awaken potential. Pressure does. You're not being reduced, you're being refined. One of the hardest parts of this refinement is the removal of people from your life. This season of separation isn't punishment, it's protection. Not everyone can go where you're going, and not everyone should. Some connections were meant to walk with you for a chapter, not the whole story. When growth begins, misalignment becomes obvious. Arguments arise over nothing. Distance grows suddenly. Betrayals come to light. You may feel emotionally numb toward people you once cared deeply about, not out of bitterness, but clarity. This can hurt deeply, especially if you value loyalty and connection. But there's a hard truth that becomes unavoidable. Everyone who claps for you isn't praying for you. Some people enjoy your presence but not your progress. Some are comfortable with you as long as you stay small, familiar, and accessible. When you begin to expand, their discomfort reveals itself. This is the moment where you're asked to let go without guilt, to breathe through the grief without forcing closure, to trust that what's leaving is making room for what's aligned. Holding on out of fear only delays the next phase. Releasing does mean you didn't care. It means you respect the direction your life is taking. And in the quiet that follows, something powerful begins to settle in. A deeper sense of peace, a stronger connection to intuition, a knowing that even though the path feels uncertain, it feels right. This is where the chosen learn to trust not what they see, but what they feel. This is where strength becomes rooted, not reactive. This is where the upgrade continues, unseen but undeniable, shaping you for what's coming next. Orange Heart. There comes a point on this path where you begin to realize that not all resistance is random. Some of what you faced wasn't just bad luck, poor timing, or personal weakness. It was pressure aimed directly at who you are becoming. When you carry light, it draws attention. When you grow, it creates contrast. And contrast naturally attracts opposition. This isn't something to fear, but it is something to understand. The reason chosen ones experience spiritual resistance is because growth disrupts stagnation. Your presence, even when you're quiet, challenges systems, patterns, and energies that thrive on things staying the same. You may have noticed that just as you start gaining clarity, self-doubt creeps in. Not the normal kind, but the heavy kind that questions your worth, your direction, and whether you're even qualified to want more. Procrastination becomes louder than usual, even when you care deeply about what you're building. There's often a strange fear of being seen, as if stepping into visibility feels risky, even though you know you're meant for impact. And perhaps the most common attack of all is the feeling that you're behind in life, that somehow everyone else got the memo while you were stuck waiting. These attacks aren't signs of failure, they're signs of proximity. Resistance intensifies right before momentum shifts. Storms don't show up after clear skies, they show up before them. The pressure you're feeling now isn't meant to stop you, even though it tries. It's meant to test your focus. The enemy doesn't waste energy fighting things that pose no threat. Opposition only shows up when something meaningful is at stake. The very fact that you've been targeted is evidence that your future carries weight. What makes this season especially challenging is the tension between God's timing and your frustration. You can see your potential so clearly. You feel ready, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You've done the work. You've reflected, healed, learned, and prepared. Yet it seems like others are moving ahead while you're still waiting. Watching people pass you by can sting, especially when you know how much you've grown behind the scenes. The pain of delay comes from vision. You're not impatient because you're lazy. You're impatient because you can see what's possible. But here's the perspective shift that changes everything. You see today, while God sees 10 years ahead. What feels like a slowdown is often a safeguard. What feels like being overlooked is often being positioned. Timing isn't about readiness alone, it's about alignment. Being early can be just as costly as being late. Think about long road trips across wide landscapes. The destination might feel far and the road can seem endless, especially when you're driving through stretches where nothing appears to be happening. But those remote places are often the most transformative. They teach patience, endurance, and trust in the process. You don't rush through them because the value is in the journey itself. In the same way, your path isn't delayed, it's deliberate. Late is not denied, it's simply timed for maximum impact. And when the shift comes, it often doesn't arrive gradually. It arrives suddenly. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. People reach out unexpectedly. Financial movement begins where there was once stagnation. Creative clarity replaces confusion. The anxiety you carried for so long gives way to a calm confidence that doesn't need external validation. These changes can feel surreal, especially after such a long period of waiting. But here's the part that's rarely talked about. Blessings require courage. When the doors open, they won't open into comfort. They'll open into responsibility. Your comfort zones will be tested because growth demands expansion. The version of you that emerges won't recognize the old patterns you once tolerated, and people will sense that change. They'll treat you differently, not because you're better, but because you're clearer. Your boundaries will feel firmer. Your presence will feel stronger. And not everyone will know how to respond to that. This is where identity shifts fully. You stop asking for permission to be who you are. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You move with intention rather than urgency. And in this moment, it's important to hear this clearly. This message is for you. Not by accident, not by coincidence. You were never late. You were never forgotten. Every pause, every detour, every moment of silence was shaping you for this exact season. Now is the time to stay disciplined, even when motivation fluctuates. To stay silent when not everyone deserves access to your plans. To stay focused when distractions try to pull you backward. This isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about honoring the process that brought you here. Take a moment, even now, to settle into this truth. Quietly within yourself, allow these words to land. You trust God's timing, even when you don't understand it. You are prepared for your upgrade, even if it feels unfamiliar. You release what no longer serves you, not with resentment, but with gratitude for the role it once played. And remember this as you move forward. If this message found you, your upgrade has already begun. Orange heart. Before you leave, listen carefully. If this message stirred something deep inside you, that's not emotion, that's recognition. Something in your spirit just remembered who you are. The confusion you've been feeling, it's fatting. The heaviness, it's lifting. Because now you understand you were never being punished, you were being prepared. This season wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you quietly. While others were distracted, you were being refined. While doors stayed closed, your character was being strengthened. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Once God finishes this upgrade, you will never fit back into your old life again. Your mindset will be different. Your standards will rise. Your peace will be unshakable. And the people who doubted you, they won't recognize you anymore. What's coming next won't arrive loudly. It will arrive suddenly. One call, one opportunity, one decision that changes everything. That's why staying aligned now matters more than ever. So don't go back to doubting yourself. Don't go back to shrinking. And don't go back to old patterns that God already removed you from. If this video confirmed what you've been feeling all along, claim it. Backhand index pointing down comment upgraded. If you're ready for what's next. Thumbs up like this video to seal this moment. Outbox tray share it with someone who needs this reminder. Bell and subscribe, because this journey is just getting started. Your upgrade has already begun.